Tommy John, quote, "When they operated on my arm, I asked them to put in a Koufax fastball. They did, but it was a Mrs. Koufax fastball." So, Tommy, we could probably talk about the now famous Tommy John surgery for hours. Let's start at the beginning of this thing. You had pitched in the big leagues for a decade. You were in the midst of a great year when you decided to have this, at the time, maverick procedure done. I want to know what was going through your mind when Dr. Jobe said, we're going to put one ligament in this elbow. I mean, did you think I'm the Frankenstein monster, or what was going on in your head?
Well, we rested it 3-4 weeks, came back, and I couldn't throw. And eventually he told me, he said, here's what, we didn't have MRIs then. We only had x-rays. But he held my arm this way and moved my forearm back to about here. And it's not, he said, whoa, it's not supposed to be that much. You've torn the ligament in your elbow. The only way we can come back is, it's been done in the hand and wrist where they transplant. And so the procedure was sound. It's just they'd never done it in a pitcher. He told me, this is what we're going to do. I said, do I have to have it done? No, you really don't have to have it done. But if you don't have it done, I can guarantee you will never pitch in the big leagues again. I said, okay. If I have it done, he said, you probably won't pitch. I don't know, but I said, give me some odds. You know, he said, I would say less than 5%, somewhere, I don't know, 2, 3, 1, I don't know. But I said, well, 2 or 3, 4 is better than 0. There's no downside risk. Let's go. Let's go play.
It's getting pretty loud between the Cuban fans on one side and the Mexican fans at the other.
That's drilled to center field. That's away back, away back, away back, and gone. A home run, a 3-run shot. 16-4. And that is your ball game. That would be a walk-off home run. I think both teams are happy about it.
Well, you got me on that one. It did happen.
Well, Frederick Cepeda with his 3rd home run of the tournament, a 3-run shot. Game, set, and match.
He's got some whip in that bat. A big league player in a Cuban uniform right now, Frederick Cepeda.
The 2-1. And Wright lines it into the right field corner. The U.S. wins it! David Wright with a walk-off knock. And Team USA moves on to the semis. Santa Maria.
And they're, oh boy, the excitement, emotion, there it is right there.
.5-3 in the 9th. And Team USA rallies to win in Miami. 3 outs away from tournament elimination.
What a game. What an inning. What at bats there. Right down to every bat. That last bat, David Wright going the other way, starting off with Shane Victorino.
This is the game winner. David Wright goes down and gets a pitch and lines it into the right field corner. No question this was going to score both runs as Roberts and Rollins come around to score and win it for the U.S.
Big hit, comes down to strikes, excitement. Jimmy Rollins scoring. They know they're going on to the next pool. Semifinal, final round.
And they defeat Puerto Rico to move on to the semis.
Welcome inside Studio 42. Not sure how many guests have joined Harold and I here that can claim a Cy Young Award and a doctorate degree in exercise physiology. To our money, Mike Marshall's the only one that can claim this, and we are joined by Mike now. Mike, it's great having you with us.
Well, it's my pleasure. I thank you for this opportunity.
Iron Mike or Dr. Mike? You were Iron Mike in '74 when you made 106 appearances. What do you prefer?
Well, on the baseball field, we go by baseball nicknames, and they just called me Iron. That was my teammates. They called me Iron. The Mike was, I guess, a given. But when you're in a doctoral degree and you're in a situation where education is important, then you use that. If I'm out in the bar with you, I'm Mike. Nice to see you.
Well, let me ask you about your baseball, because there are so many records that you still hold to this day in the game. Appearance records in both the American and National League, closing innings, games finished. Of all your accomplishments, what are you most proud of?
Well, 208 closing innings was a lot of fun, and it was hard to get to that. I know that sounds silly, but I couldn't get my managers to allow me to pitch more. I kept begging Gene Malk to allow me to pitch for me more and more, and he got me up to 92 games and 179 innings. I got over to Walter Alston, and he had a kinesiology course. I didn't know this about him. He says, "You tell me when you're not able to pitch." And I didn't tell him, and he let me pitch 208 closing innings. He allowed me to close in all of the World Series games that year, all 5 of them, and he never thought a second thing about it, and that was great. I love that about him.
How did you and Walter Alston get into talking about kinesiology?
Well,
that's what I want to know.
Yeah. Walter was a very bright guy. People don't give him his due. I'll tell you, he's a bright man, great manager. But when it came in, he started talking kinesiology to me. He understood Newton's 3 laws, and he had some basic knowledge of anatomy, and he was talking about what he remembered from the course, and he asked me a little bit about it. Well, you don't have to ask me twice, you know. I have trouble not telling people rather than telling too much. So we became very tight on that, and he says, well, how much you feel you can pitch? I said, you put me out there, and I'll pitch every day for you. And in fact, if I didn't pitch the night before, I threw batting practice the next day. And it wasn't to show off, it's to get the release points, keep the release points sharp. And pitching, especially if you're a closer where you don't dare make a pitch mistake, you better have your release points ready when the game starts.
You know, it's great to have this opportunity to talk to you, because we talk so much in baseball now about the era of specialized relief pitchers, and a guy that'll come in for a 1 or 2 at-bat stint, his manager will back off of him for 6 days, and I would imagine this kind of talk would drive a guy like you who made so many appearances crazy.
Oh, Gene made me crazy. I remember once he got up to 6 games with me. He says, you're not pitching tonight, you're not pitching. I said, why not? I feel fine. And I went out in the outfield and threw the ball for a half hour just showing him I felt fine. And he never would, though. He never would allow me to do more. And it was very exasperating. But, you know, pitching 1 inning with at least a 1-run lead, that's about the easiest gig you can get in baseball. I'm sorry. Try going in with the 5 extra innings and pitching 5 innings in Cincinnati against the 75 Reds. Now you're having some fun. You know, you really got your task cut out for you. They wouldn't even bring those guys in that game. If they're your best pitchers, put them out there.
You know, Mike, it's the other thing is we have a generation of pitchers, starters or whatever, with the pitch count now, 100 pitches. And we talk about this with numerous guests, and it's a big topic in baseball. But you being a doctor, I want to ask you, what is right? Is a 100 pitch limit proper, or are we hurting guys by doing that, or are we doing it right by giving them 100?
Well, we have 2 variables here. In general, just in general, the more you train, the stronger you get, the more you can do, in general, that's what you can do. But the traditional pitching motion has some very serious flaws, injurious flaws. And if these guys do this motion and do too much of it, they will break down earlier, because with every pitch they throw, if they have what I call a reverse pitching forearm bounce, where they arms back like this, then they bring it up, and then the elbow goes forward. Every time that bounces, they're microscopically tearing some of the ulnar collateral ligament. And if they do that enough times, it'll finally rupture. Now, understand, rupturing it doesn't happen all at once. It takes a number of throws of microscopic injuries that don't heal and continue on, and then it will rupture. So if they do that, you can't do it. But if they'd learned to take their arm back and up in one smooth motion so they didn't bounce it, then they would never rupture it. They wouldn't have any tears at all. That'd eliminate Tommy John surgery. So if they make some rather simple adjustmits to the basic pitching motion, even in the traditional, they could do a lot more pitching to be better
were you aware of that as a player?
Yes, I was. And I'm sort of ashamed to say so, too, because back in 1967, when I started my research, very lucky in that at that time I was a graduate teaching assistant in kinesiology, working with a brilliant kinesiologist, Bill Husner, and I was teaching the lab. And I had taken high-speed film of myself, and I determined this, that, and much more. And I put into play what we learned, and I kept it a secret. And I would help my teammates. You know, you can't get by. Your teammate comes up, well, this bothers me. Well, you know, I had to help him. I couldn't let him not. For example, after Tommy ruptured his use, Tommy John ruptured, I showed him what he had to do never to do it again. And he never did it again. Whereas today, they keep doing the same thing, and they ruptured a second time and even third time. So I wish I had told everybody back then, because then I wouldn't have to, this battle I'm having today of trying to get people to listen to how to eliminate pitching arm injuries.
Well, let's talk about some of the pitchers today, Mike. And I know you still watch baseball. I know you're still active, and you help a lot of guys who are beginning their baseball careers.
Try to.
You watch a guy like Tim Lincecum of the San Francisco Giants, who's won a Cy Young Award, who has got electric stuff, who has limitless potential. He has a very unusual motion and delivery. What do you think of when you watch him throw?
Well, what I just called a reverse pitching forearm bounce, when a kid takes the arm back this way, hooks the wrist, and then has to raise the arm all the way up, and then it starts that elbow forward, that arm bounces down. He does that. And I'm just scared to death he's going to end up rupturing the ulnar collateral ligament unless he learns to stop doing that. Very powerful young man, very gifted, very talented. Genetically, he must have tremendous fast twitch muscle fiber percentage. I'm also suspect of the excessive reverse rotation that he's doing, what that's going to be doing to his pitching knee and his pitching hip. Jumping out as far as he does, that puts a lot of stress on the glove knee. But the biggest thing that he powerfully pronates the finish, and we'll probably talk about that more. But that is helping his elbow. But I'm worried about that bounce that he has, that in a couple, 3 years, because you know, it takes a while to really cause a harm. He's going to hurt himself.
So how do you correct the bounce?
Well, the bounce came about, actually, I think somewhere in the 70s, where somebody said, take the ball out of your glove with your hand on top of the ball. And then they say, get on top of the ball. I'm not sure what that means, getting on top of the ball and having your hand here. But when you bring your arm back, your upper arm gets to shoulder height, and then it can't go any farther. And then you have to raise your hand up above your shoulder height because you can't throw below. And that starts what I call a late pitching forearm turnover. Your glove foot lands, the elbow starts going forward, the hand's up here, it bounces backward and then goes forward. Each time it bounces, you're not protecting it with muscle action because you're outwardly rotating your arm, and that's what causes injury. To correct it is simple. Put your hand under the ball. That's what I told Tommy John. Tom, from now on, put your hand under the ball, swing your arm down and up to drive line height, one smooth motion. Then when you start your elbow forward, you're contracting the muscles on the inside of the elbow, and that protects the ulnar collateral ligament.
Mike, I'm curious, is just our last question in the short time we have with you. Have any clubs been in contact with you to come aboard as maybe a roving pitching instructor or an advisor since you retired?
Well, while I was still playing, Bill Veck called me. Remember Bill Veck? He said, Marshall, I want to know what you know. He was a beautiful man. I said, where are you? And he said, Chicago. I said, I'm in East Lansing. He said, I'll be out there tomorrow. We spent all day, and I sat there and with a high-speed film, I explained everything. He said, great, I want you to be my pitching coach. I said, as soon as I'm done with this 3-year contract, I'll be there. Unfortunately, he sold the team before I got there. So that was the only time anybody's ever contacted me about this. I have to admit, I thought that as soon as my career is over, I'd get a lot of calls. But they just said, okay, you're a physical freak, and that's how you did it. Not because you happen to know anything, even though they knew I had a doctorate degree, even though they knew that I studied kinesiology. Nobody came to me for any information.
Wow.
Well, Mike, might be that time now.
Yeah,
I hope so.
Maybe. When Doc Brown meets Doc Medich, perhaps. It's been great having you here, Mike. Thanks for taking some time. We hope to have you back again sometime.
All right, welcome to Studio 42. Our special guest, Dr. Mike Marshall, Mr. Cy Young winner. We're going to talk about, and Joe Williams, his assistant here, we're going to talk a little bit about arm motion. You know, that's a big topic in baseball now with pitch counts and everything else, but you're a doctor, you study kinesiology and everything else, so why don't you tell us what's the difference when you were pitching and what you're seeing in today's pitchers?
Well, what I learned in 1967 is the traditional way of what is called horizontally flexing your elbow, where Joe would be bringing his arm out sideways, is not very powerful. The powerful way and the safest way is to bring the arm forward this way, where it drives the elbow down forward.
Okay, well, now, let's put him up on the mound here, and let's see, is there a difference now that he's up higher on how the arm may be? Go ahead, Joe, you can get on your position there on the mound.
Well, what we have to do is drive the ball in a straight line toward home plate. So take his arm up here, go take it back in the loaded. all the way back there. Now when he brings his arm forward, gets it right here, stops it, and he drives, and then we always powerfully inwardly rotate. The reason this elbow pops up and the reason theirs doesn't is they're pulling their arm across, whereas he is using a big muscle in his back, covers half the lower back called the latissimus dorsi. It wraps around the head of the bone up here, and so when he inwardly rotates, the elbow pops up. That's power. It's these two muscles, the latissimus dorsi and the tricep muscle, which we learn how to use, and the traditional pitching motion is not, is safe and it's much more powerful. It certainly is injurious.
Now, you studied this while you were pitching and winning Cy Youngs and still active as a pitcher. You got some drills for us to look at.
Well,
first of all, before we get there, we've got all kinds of little tools here. All right. First, we got a football that we've heard people use that before. Explain what this is going to be about.
Well, what we use a football for is to teach people how to release the pitch so you get the proper spin axis.
Okay.
We're going to show you the curveball in a little bit. We've invented a new way to throw a curveball that's safe. Anybody can do it.
Okay. Then these weights right here. I got to take my glove off to handle these.
Yeah.
How heavy is this?
30 pounds.
30 pounds?
Goodness.
And what do you do with these?
Well, we're going to show you just how strong this motion is. And those are 30-pound wrist weights. And Joe's going to do a few of the exercises you want to do with the loaded slingshot or the wind up, whatever you want. Okay. And the thing to look for is how he brings that arm up and how he drives the wrist weight straight toward home plate.
Now, Joe, you're a left-handed pitcher, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So he's going to drive it right straight toward home plate toward us. See how powerful that is? And you notice how the elbow popped up and
now
how
that doesn't hurt?
No, I wouldn't be doing it every day for the past 2 years. It hurt.
Yeah. It's been doing it for the last couple of years. It doesn't hurt.
No injury. I did that for over 30 years. It doesn't hurt you at all. It makes you powerful, but more importantly, it teaches you how to use those powerful muscles, the latissimus dorsi, the tricep muscle, and then powerfully pronating protects the ulnar collateral ligament.
So now let me ask you a question, because
because
most people are going to think you pronate like that, you would pop that elbow.
Yeah.
Not so.
In the traditional pitching motion where they cannot rotate fully, if they would have some problems here. But releasing that curveball and slider with your thumb up, that's supinating, and that bangs the back of the elbow. When you pronate, because the muscle that pronates is across above the elbow and below, it also flexes the elbow and it protects the back of the elbow.
Okay. Let's do this real quick. We got a couple more things here. We got a 15-pound weighted ball.
Well,
what's this?
Yeah,
for?
this is just to show you how powerful we are. We actually can throw this. We do throw this with throwing every pitch we want: curveballs, screwballs, fastballs. Throw it as hard as we want. And obviously, we can't do it in here because you have to have something very strong to catch that.
Yeah, and I won't be catching that. All right, but for purposes of showing this, we got another drill. We got some wiffle balls that you normally would do this with a baseball.
Right.
And you can throw this from second base or even 200-some feet.
Well, he can throw it 240 feet without a problem, which shows you just how strong the arm. He will throw the baseball at 90% of his release velocity with a windup with this technique. But the beauty of this technique is it teaches people how to use this pitching arm action. You can't take the ball will not go laterally behind your body. When it comes forward, you drive your arm straight in, never pull the arm across your body.
All right, so while we go down to the plate, let's look at this video. Joe, you get ready. And here's a video of you just to show that you're actually really talking and telling the truth. Here's your picture of you in the World Series against the Oakland A's. Getting on top, here's your delivery, you follow through.
And you should notice the elbow pops up. In fact, I'd throw the ball and the elbow, my arm would come up and slap me upside the head. It popped up so powerfully.
Wow, okay, and that was just through time and working on it?
Working on it, doing the very same drills that I have Joe doing now.
Okay. All right, so Joe, now to explain this, hold on one second. Explain what we're doing here.
Okay,
Doctor.
This is a second base pickoff drill where he's going to whirl a full 180 degrees, and he's going to swing the arm down and back, and then he's going to throw a fastball in here to our catcher.
All right, come on, let's see what you got, Joe. All right.
Ball's a little light,
It's a wiffle ball.
A little trouble.
I can see how he could put some. He's got some serious motion on this thing.
Yeah, if that were a baseball, he'd be throwing it up here.
Good thing. Yeah, he'd be knocking me over.
But you notice that the arm never goes laterally behind his body, either behind or in front. He drives his arm in a straight line, and he does it by raising that elbow up high and snapping off of that high elbow.
All right, the football real quick.
Okay,
Show me what we're doing with the football real quick.
We've invented a new way to throw the curveball. Instead of turning your thumb up, which is injurious.
We'll go to that camera right there and just show them what
instead of turning your thumb up, which will hurt the back of your elbow because you bang it up, we're going to drive through the ball in this manner, here. drive, and we're going to pronate, turn our thumb down. And this is
Okay.
what it looks like. We're going to let you catch it.
All right, let me throw it to him first.
All right, I'll let you
that's
do
a
that.
traditional throw. All right, let's see what you
No,
got.
we do it only to learn how to properly release pitches.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So what he's trying to get on top. This the curveball drill?
Curveball, and he's trying to spin that curveball just as fast as he can.
All right.
And our high-speed film shows that we get 2 to 3 times the spin velocity that a traditional pitcher gets.
Well, the
with
great
a
thing about
supination
this, we
curve.
can slow it down. All right. Thank you, Joe. That's fantastic.
Great going, catching
Doctor.
it. It's not that easy.
Nice job. That's good stuff.
They got off very slowly. They won yesterday in Kansas City. They'd love to begin to put something together here today. Sizemore rockets one to right. Is it a slam? Yes, it is. And a day of celebration has brought out the Boo Birds at Yankee Stadium.
Well, we were talking about their ability to break a game open, and that's what Grady Sizemore can do. He can bust the game open. He got a ball down and was able to yank that thing to right field. Nice piece of hitting.
Yeah, he's not an excellent hitter against most left-handers, but there are more home runs hit off bad breaking pitches, particularly late in the game, and that's what that was, a flat slider from Marte right in Grady's eyes.
Watch him reach down to go get this. Now, he'd been knocked off the plate by a fastball, but he stays with this, and he's so strong. He's actually out in front of this ball, but he was able to hook it and drive the ball to the ballpark. Grady Sizemore, 6'4", about 200 pounds. I don't think people realize how big he is. Graceful athlete, tremendous swing.
Head coach of San Diego State, Hall of Famer Tony Gwynn. Tony, thanks so much for joining us. When you start looking and talking about Steven Strasburg, this is a special, special talent, isn't he?
He really is. For especially, he's 20 years old, and he does a lot of things that, honestly, I haven't seen 20-year-olds do. I mean, he's got the velocity, he's got the off-speed pitches, good slider, good changeup. He pitches downhill. He knows about angles. He pays attention to hitters. He does a lot of things already that guys have to be taught, and it's shown. I mean, he's 11-0. He's got an ERA of less than 1.5. I mean, the numbers are ridiculous. But I caution people all the time about he still has a lot of things to learn, especially when you're talking about going to the next level, because at the next level, he's going to have to throw more balls over the plate, and there are going to be hitters who can stand there and take a whack. Where at the college level, you get a guy throwing as hard as he does, they're going to be a little bit intimidated and start cheating, start doing things to try to catch up with it. But he's a special kid. He's the perfect guy to kind of go through all the things that have happened to him this year, because his temperament is very good. He's a very humble guy, and he wants to help his team win.
Hey, Tony, it's Dan Plesac. I know you know a little thing or two about hitting and pitching. How far away would you say, where is he at as far as, if you would say, is he a year away? Is he the kind of guy that can make the jump from college ball and go immediately to the big leagues, or do you see that he needs some seasoning to finish the product off?
Honestly, he is stuff-wise, I think he could go to the big leagues. In my mind, there's no doubt about that. But there's other things that you have to learn about pitching, and the only way you gain that experience is actually going out there and pitching against professional hitters. And I think the Olympic experience last year really helped him, because he got a chance to talk to other professional pitchers, pick their brains about what did they do to become successful. Stuff-wise, like I said, I think he could go to the big leagues and have some success. But he hasn't had a whole lot of adversity the last couple of years, to be honest. I mean, he's pretty much dominated the scene. But you guys have seen it like I have. Guys coming up, go to the big leagues, in the minor leagues a short time, come up to the big leagues, get banged around a little bit, and you never see them again. Although, in Steven's case, working with him the last 3 years, I know what kind of temperament he has. I know how humble he is. But there's some things he still needs to improve on. I think his composure, he can work on that, and learning to, like I said, throw more balls over the plate, challenge hitters a little bit more. I think he has to learn how to do that too. But stuff-wise, he probably could step in right now and give somebody 7 innings.
Tony, we really appreciate your time. Good luck to you and San Diego State the rest of the way.
Thanks.
Now we're joined by a guy who's familiar with the NL West, Tony Gwynn. That's right, the Hall of Famer Tony Gwynn joins us on the phone. Tony, thanks for calling in. Obviously, your connections at San Diego State leads me to this question. Steven Strasburg, #1 overall. I guess you saw this coming, right?
Well, you thought so. I mean, we're thrilled that he went #1. I'm thrilled that we were able to coach him for the last 3 years. I mean, he's a quality kid whose dream was fulfilled today, being a #1 pick, and one that I expect to get to the big leagues at some point and have a real successful career.
Hey, Tony, my question for you is, we're seeing an interesting draft here. A lot of pitching going off the board. When you were coaching this year at San Diego State, did you see a lot of pitching that kind of jumped out at you?
Yeah, I mean, look at the draft. I mean, lots of pitchers are going. This year, probably more than any other year that I've been coaching, you saw a lot of power arms, guys who had good command and, were able to pound the strike zone. So the way the draft is going so far, I don't think it's a real surprise.
Hey, Tony, it's John Hart calling. Listen, could you give baseball a secret? You went and recruited a guy that didn't get drafted out of high school, and in 3 years under your coaching and tutelage, he's now going off the first pick in the country. What's the secret?
The secret is that every high school kid should come to San Diego State. Just luck. It was just luck. Steven Strasburg was a guy that, was on the radar. He wanted to go to Stanford, just didn't get in. Decided to stay close to home. And you know what? He's a kid who just absolutely worked as hard as he could for the last 3 years to put himself in a position where he could be the #1 pick. I mean, we kind of, told him he needed to be a little bit tougher. He needed to command the ball a little bit better. But, he was blessed with natural stuff. And when he's on the mound, that's what you see. You see a guy who's able to recognize what hitters are doing and make his adjustments. Yeah, we got the overpowering fastball, but he's got a good breaking ball, good changeup, and he locates both halves of the plate and pitches downhill. And that's kind of hard to teach. Those are things that either you have it or you don't, and he's one guy that I think obviously has it.
Okay, Tony, it's Harold again. We can't have Tony Gwynn on here and not ask you this question. 8 batting titles, and we know your resume. How close is he to the big leagues?
Well, I think he's a lot closer than people think. I've been watching you guys on TV, and I'm like you guys. I don't know if I would rush him, but if he does get to the big league, he's got the kind of stuff, he's got the kind of baseball savvy that I think he could be successful. Now, if he gets his time, because those lessons that you learn when you go through adversity, he hadn't had a whole lot of adversity the last couple of years. And sometimes you need to go out there and pitch and kind of learn those things that you need to learn, how to throw more balls over the plate, how to attack hitters who, aren't afraid of a 90-mile or 100-mile-per-hour fastball, aren't afraid of a big breaking ball. Those are things that's kind of on-the-job training that you have to learn when you get out there and pitch.
All right, Tony Gwynn, we really appreciate the phone call. Thank you so much. Tony, a 3rd-round pick back in 1981 and the skipper at San Diego State.
Hall of
Steven
Famer.
Strasburg. That's right. That's what he's known for.
With the 25th selection in the first round of the 2009 first-year player draft, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim select Michael Trout. Michael is a center fielder from Millville Senior High School, Millville, New Jersey. The Milwaukee Brewers are now on the clock.
That's great. Outstanding.
Where would you like?
Outstanding, man. That's fantastic.
Oh, this is great.
It really is. Mike Trout of Millville High School. There you see him holding up the Angels jersey.
Yeah. All right, man. You know, the beauty of this is we asked everybody in the country who wanted to come here to come on out. Every player could have came out here. And Michael Trout had the guts and the nerve to come here and sit through it.
That's a great way to put it, because it's a nerve-wracking thing to be here. You don't know.
But you know what? This is what the draft is about. And honestly, I'm so happy for this young one man who came out here to stand at the podium with the commissioner. Because if I had an opportunity on draft day, I'm here. I'm sorry. And to every kid who's sitting out there in the country who didn't come here, I understand the guys at the College World Series are getting ready. But really, this is your draft. This is your opportunity. You should be standing here with the commissioner holding your jersey. That's just how I see it. That's my personal opinion.
I think everybody here agrees with you, Harold. That was fantastic. As for, go ahead.
Well, let's get back to why they took him. This is an excellent draft. This guy's a five-tool player. He's got the power and speed, that combination you don't see of. He reminds a lot of people of Craig Biggio, who's sitting right in here.
Absolutely.
You look at him physically, that's the kind of guy he is. I think it's a great selection for Eddie Bain and his staff, and I look forward to seeing him in Anaheim.